Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And if this is your first time on WDWNT TV, please follow this channel. And also, if you wouldn't mind giving us a like, we'd really appreciate it, because tonight we are Groot. Me and my friend Patrick Hackett.
I am Groot.
No, I am Groot? I am Groot. We are Groot? I don't know. Does that get too cringy? Like, is it bad?
No, I think it's okay. I think we're okay.
I mean
it's adorable.
It's one of those things like in Family Guy, when they like take the joke too far and then eventually it becomes funny again. Like, I think they do such a good job with it. And the original Groot was, you know, a big tall guy, and then we got Baby Groot, which everybody loved. And so they went, hey, you know what we should do? We should make some shorts based on that little fella. And they did. They came up with I Am Groot, a series of 5 shorts that Disney Plus just dropped. And I was talking to my good friend Patrick here, and he said, hey, let's review those because that's part of the MCU. That's actually canon in the MCU. Is that weird?
That's really weird, because that makes Alf canon, I guess. I mean, an Alf comic book was in there, so I guess Alf is a show that exists in the MCU.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they talked about on She-Hulk the fact that they mention Bing Bong, that Pixar is canon in the MCU, so that's kind of cool. So when we're looking at the Marvel tab on Disney Plus, you can see as you scroll through that we've got everything separated, but we have the phases. So if you're not familiar with the MCU, there's phases 1, 2, and we're in the middle of 4 right now. But as you look at Marvel, I
think we're at the end of 4.
We're in 4.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe and you look at 4, if I go across to this, it includes all of these after Miss Marvel as being like part of the canon. Now, chronologically, that doesn't make sense because Groot is now a teenager, but for some reason, this is now canon in here.
Man, I've honestly gotten so tired of caring about canon. Star Wars fans have ruined it for everyone. It's just, man, just let people tell a story. Just let them tell the story, and they can retcon whatever they want, because it's their story. It's not your story. If you were good at doing story things, you would be doing them.
All right, I'm going to fight you on that. I'm going to fight you on that as a Star Wars fan, because I'm that guy. But but in general, I get it. Like, I love the characters of Star Wars. And so when there was the expanded universe and Mara Jade and the video games and the books and all that stuff, I didn't read a lot of the Timothy Zahn books and things like that. So I don't really know a lot of that kind of thing. I like the stuff that is the mainstream, you know, Star Wars. And so the fact that they then weave that stuff in, I kind of need that to know what's canon, what's part of the story, so that I can have it be consistent in my head as I'm going through it. So there are some things that are, like, it blows my mind that they say that S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon anymore, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because that's Coulson, and that's the same actor as Coulson.
And the whole thing was hashtag it's all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so, that's really upsetting. All right, fine. You got me off my high horse.
So, welcome back to Grounded.
Thank you.
But when I look at that kind of stuff like S.H.I.E.L.D. and the I'm forgetting what the name, not the Immortals, not the Eternals. What was the name of that one? The Inhumans. So S.H.I.E.L.D. Inhumans and Peggy Carter. That one, those shows were ABC, and so they were a little bit different. And it was before like the MCU was like solidified. So I think they kind of are fringe. But I would like to think that they're kind of canon because it's Phil Coulson, and that's Phil's like extended story. You know, like
haven't they just named it another universe at this point in time?
Oh, because of the multiverse. Yeah, that's another thing.
That's what I feel like it would be.
That's another thing that's a little disturbing, is that I was ready to know who you know, Mr. Fantastic was going to be, and now they're saying, oh well, no, that was one from a different universe. Don't pay
I mean, it's still gonna be him. Like, who are we kidding?
I'm not sure.
No.
Okay.
No,
right.
I am positive.
Okay, you were
like,
positive.
That wasn't just fan service.
You were positive, and I am Groot. So with Groot was a cool character. My wife fell in love with the character of Groot in his full form. Like, she loved Big Groot, and it was voiced by Vin Diesel, and it's always voiced by Vin Diesel, as opposed to Rocket, for some reason, is voiced by somebody else other than Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper is Rocket in this.
Why couldn't he have been bothered to do the 5 minutes of audio for Guardians of the Galaxy?
I'm going to tell you why. And let's listen. I've talked bad things about Disney, and usually not in Deep in the Plus, because it's mostly, entertainment and things like that. But man, you have to get your lawyers to include the theme park content in the contract. How do we have attractions based on giant IPs without the theme park, without the right voices? Why is there fake Hermione running through Diagon Alley? You got to lock this down. Use foresight. You're the largest media conglomerate in the world. Be like, hey, we have 1 million theme parks, and we're probably going to build more and more attractions. In your contract, it says you must do theme park thing.
Well, and they should have learned their lesson, obviously, when it comes to like streaming, right? So a lot of the new contracts have streaming built in and how that works. And obviously with Scarlett Johansson, that got a little weird. But when they put together this stuff,
they even made fun of it in Sing 2, which I thought was hysterical.
But when you go into a theme park and an attraction like Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout or Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, you expect all of that to be the actors that you know, because it's still happening. Like, Guardians are still Guardians, and you want it to be the originals. You don't expect it to be, Chris Pratt walking around the park. You can do that. But in the attraction, if you're using screens, it should be the actual characters. And they kind of started that with, Jesse is Kat Cressida in the parks and is not, Joan Cusack, and the same thing with Jim Hanks instead of Tom Hanks, et cetera, et cetera.
We can go over to Magic Carpets, where it's Dan Castellaneta instead of Robin Williams.
Yeah. So I'm saddened, though, that they have the whole group together for Cosmic Rewind except for Bradley Cooper. But you're right. In these shorts, he does voice Rocket, which it's like, again, to your point, maybe it had something to do with the contract, but you couldn't throw him a little bit more money just to like finish that off. I still stand by the fact they could go back and fix it. They could go back and retouch that and fix
Absolutely.
it. So I hope they do that.
Good
someday.
call.
Yeah, thank you.
I have no idea what happens because I haven't been on it yet. Give me about a month. In about a month, I will have ridden that attraction.
Okay. All right. Fine. We'll give you a month. So going back to the reason we're here, the I Am Groot shorts, which sounds like I'm wearing I Am Groot shorts, but no, we mean like the shorts that are here.
Are there I Am Groot shorts on Shop Disney?
That would be
I would
great.
wear I Am Groot shorts, like on the booty.
Yeah, you should. Here's a problem that I have with these right off the bat. Why are they
not?
not?
It's the same I have.
What?
I bet it's the same.
Why are they not in one folder?
Why can't I play them all? That's all I wanted to do. I probably would have watched it multiple times if I could have watched them all at once. Like, it took them a while to put that on Olaf too, right? Yeah. You used to have to go to the different section on the Olaf shorts. Just let me watch the whole thing. I would have put it on repeat and just kept watching it. It's I needed to pick up little details in case Rob springs Groot trivia on me, and he's going to talk about some obscure cryptozoological animal in the MCU.
No Groot trivia.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no.
I do not know what that bird is called.
For shorts and for TV shows, I think it's a little bit unfair to do trivia. When it's a movie and it's everybody's on the same page, that's fine. But when I look at this, again, each individual episode, and there are only 5. They're not put together in, like, I think of it in computer terms. They're not put together in one folder. It's and maybe that's it's connected to what you're talking about, because in your world you're talking about the fact that it's not going to be all played in a row. I get that. But for me, when I'm looking through here, you've muddied up this screen for me, because there's way too many, like, they're all over the place. And then when I go to play them, then it suggests those at the bottom. When it suggests them at the bottom, it's not. They might rearrange them, and I want to play them in the order you want me to see them. That
was my other problem. Is there a particular order I'm supposed to watch? Like, I know Magnum Opus is obviously supposed to be the last one. That's kind of very clear by the post-credit, which all of them have post-credit?
Yes.
Yeah, all of them have a little post-credit on it. But, yeah, I need to know what order to watch them in. Obviously, First Steps is going to be first, because you got to see how he kind of breaks out of the pot. And then I want particular order. Yeah, I need order.
So yeah, so First Steps is the first one, and it's Groot's first step. So theoretically, if we're gonna watch this, there's two different, or there's multiple ways to watch Star Wars, and there's the 9 movies, and there's a joke about how, like, the first ones come after the first movies come after the second movies, and how weird it's arranged. And then you really kind of have to think, like, we watch them in the order they were made. Do you want to watch them in the order they were made, or do you want to watch them in the order of chronological? And so that same thing exists in the MCU. It exists on Disney Plus. You can watch all of them in the order they were released, or you can watch them in how chronological order works. So when it's a movie like Captain Marvel that takes place like in the like late 80s, 90s, when it's something like Captain America that takes place way back in the 40s, those things are set up so that you can watch it that way if you want to, or you can watch it the way they were released, which was Iron Man first, and then Incredible Hulk, which is actually not on here because of Universal and yada yada, and it was Ed Norton.
But it's very alive and well in canons, going back to canon.
Right, exactly, it is. Because some of the actors, and I'm surprised we haven't seen Betty yet. And if we do see Betty, I'm wondering if it's going to be Liv Tyler.
I would pop for that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
So, so when they're in order like this, we're gonna get to these shorts at some point, but these are really when he's popping out for his first steps. That really should be right after Guardians 1, because by the time we see Guardians 2, he's already walking around.
So this shouldn't be in Phase 4. This should be in Phase 2.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Phase
somewhere
2.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what made them make them quote unquote canon or decide what phase to put them in, but they could at least tell me what order to watch them in. You brought up a really good point, like how I don't know how I would rewatch the MCU. I have never thought about going back and giving it a rewatch. If I feel in the mood for something, I watch one of my favorites. Obviously, a lot of the times I'm going for Guardians or Guardians 2, or give me a Thor, give me a Ragnarok. But I don't know. And honestly, I'm surprised that they don't have machete order for Star Wars on Disney Plus.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, and they have them listed in several different ways for Marvel, so I really appreciate that. And I wonder if, like, the creators, maybe Kevin Feige or somebody, had some input in that, or if the people who put together Disney Plus are just Marvel fans. I don't know. But when you look at it, you have all those options laid out in front of you. It says at first, do you want to watch this in order of release? Do you want to watch it in chronological order? And then it has all the phases broken out. And so when I went back to watch this with my daughter, because she's getting older, but we watched a lot of this stuff when she was younger, and so she didn't remember a lot of it. And so to your point, I would go back and go, oh, well, to really understand these Spider-Man movies, you really should start with Civil War, and we would go back to that. And then she's like, well, where did Ant-Man come from? Oh, okay, we'll go to the Ant-Man movie and we'll look at that one. And then finally I was like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to stop and we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to watch them all chronologically. So we did that, and we started with Phase 1, Phase 2. So Captain Marvel and not Winter Soldier, but First Avenger, we watched them in their proper order. So we didn't watch them in order of chronological. We watched them in order of release, because I do think that there's a benefit to that too, when you have post-credit scenes, and when they go backwards to show you that, like in Captain Marvel, about Nick Fury. If you didn't know Nick Fury from the movies before it, you might not understand the joke about his eye, like how they almost like Hot Tub Time Machine, like they almost keep getting his eye, and they almost keep getting his eye, and then finally they do. Yeah, so I that would be my recommendation, is that you start the way that they're laid out, and you start with Phase 1. But it's good that you can chunk them and start with Phase 1 and just watch Phase 1, and then when you're watching Phase 1, you got to watch Iron Man, and then you got to go find someone who has a copy of Incredible Hulk, and then you come back.
I have it right over there. I have it in the collectible Hulk Smash box doors. I have never rewatched that movie. I just really liked the DVD box.
I have. I like that movie. I think that movie stands up. So I've gone back and rewatched it, and I made her watch it, because again, we were playing some like trivia game that they had gotten me for Christmas or something, and it had categories, and one of the categories was Hulk, and a lot of it leans into that first movie. And so it is canon, it is part of the MCU, even though it's not Mark Ruffalo as Hulk. And now that we have She-Hulk, there's really even more reason to go back to that. I know we're not talking about Groot right now, but we're going to get back to that.
No, but I mean, it's green people with limited vocabulary.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
And again, I love that.
And they're clearly poking fun at Hulk now in She-Hulk, where it's like, I was a totally different person then.
Right. I love that line. Well, I laughed so hard when he was like, yeah, back then I was a totally different person. But again, it's interesting they've never referenced Betty as big a part as General Ross was throughout the MCU, and as big a part as Betty plays in the comics, that they wouldn't at least reference her.
I believe Lin-Manuel Miranda said it best. Just you wait.
Just you wait. We should do Hamilton sometime. Just putting that out there. Anyway, so when I'm going through this and I think about Groot in general, my wife loved first Groot, like Big Groot.
Yep.
She loved Groot, and Groot was great. I mean, he was funny, and he was a little clueless about things. And then you've got Baby Groot, and I'm not sure I completely understand the concept of who he is. I think what I've read about is that Baby Groot, and I'll probably get like smashed in the comments on this one, but Baby Groot is kind of an offshoot of Groot. It's not the original consciousness of Groot, but it is a continuation of Groot. And so Rocket's raising him as his son instead of it being his friend. And I feel like that it's still Groot, but he's a little different. He doesn't have old Groot's memories.
That's kind of how I always took it. I read a bunch of Groot books. Back when I did another show, I really was reading the comic books all the time, and the Groot books, I think this was post Guardian 1 and well before Guardians 2, and they're very, very interesting. They're one of those races that Marvel has done so much backstory on, and it's way more than just saying I am Groot and things like that. But I do believe, Rob, you got it, that it is not exactly Groot. It is like Groot-ish.
Like Groot 2.0 sort of a thing. So
yeah,
he's like growing him almost like he's starting from scratch. It's almost like Groot's like offspring. So they start at the end of Guardians, the original movie, in the post credits, where he's dancing to the Jackson 5 and he's in the pot and he's starting to grow and he's starting to look like Groot again. And then when we open on the second Guardians movie, he's now he's Baby Groot, and everybody freaking loves Baby Groot. Like, let me ask you this right now, and maybe the chat will have an opinion about it.
Don't do it.
I'm going to ask you. You don't even know what I'm going to ask you, dude. Don't even pretend like you are.
I absolutely do know what you're going to ask me.
You're
going to say Baby Groot or Baby Yoda. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So what's your answer?
Man, I think it's Grogu. I think Grogu's cuter. He has way more personality than Groot, and I haven't seen him as a surly teenager yet. So I got that going for me, because, man, teenage Groot is, I don't know, I'm going to have a teenager eventually, and I just live in fear of those moments.
Yeah, no, you're right. So in the second movie, it's Baby Groot, and then by the end of the second movie, it's teenage or preteen or tween Groot, and he's playing video games the whole time. He's like, I'm Groot, and it's like, and then now Star-Lord understands him, and he's like, how dare you say that to me? And it's kind of like Star-Lord's like Uncle Star-Lord. It's like they're all kind of co-parenting, raising this new Groot. And then again, it's one of those where he has this moment, like he has that moment in Guardians 2 where he's the one that goes and plants that bomb. That was so freaking hilarious. And again, I know we're not talking about the shorts yet, but we're getting there. So when he goes, he's like, go over it again. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. No. I mean, that bit was worth the price of admission.
I am Groot. Yeah.
That was worth the price of admission, and then he saves the day with that because he's like, I'm just going to do this. And then the same thing happens in Infinity War, where he becomes the handle for Stormbreaker. I mean, that's where this awful teen all of a sudden now is like he sees what needs to be done and he makes it happen, and then you just love Groot all over again. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes now. We saw a little bit of him in Thor: Love and Thunder. We'll see, I'm sure, more of him in Guardians 3. So it'll be neat to see what happens there. God help them if they kill him again, because that's what they did.
So I am a fan of James Gunn's work. I honestly, if I think about it, he might be my favorite director right now. If you're not a child, you can go watch Peacemaker. That show is incredible. Even his horror movie Slither was something I really enjoyed. And man, he does like to kill characters off, and he likes to make an impact. And all we have heard about Guardians Volume 3 is there may be Guardians after this, but it's not going to be those three.
Those three?
Or those, God, it's 5?
Yeah.
6?
So, I mean, we've already lost Gamora, so the Gamora we have is a new Gamora. Like, it's still her, but she's from a different time and doesn't love Quill the way she did before. So that's not explained in Cosmic Rewind, though, so I'm not really sure. But with, I guess, Cosmic Rewind is pre-Endgame. I'm asking because
I don't know. I've not seen anything.
Okay.
I've seen the one video of what it looks like when the screens are off, and I got real sad.
Well, there is a comic coming for the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, so I'm looking forward to reading that and kind of understanding it a little bit more of where that comes into play. It's a great attraction. I freaking love that attraction. But I would say that when we're talking about the future of the Guardians, we've already kind of had the card played that we know that Dave Bautista is not going to continue on as Drax. So we got to assume that he's gonna bite it in that one, but you never know. So I
mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a different Star-Lord. I mean, Kitty Pryde, I do believe, has taken over the mantle of Star-Lord, and she's a great character. I really wish they've done more with Kitty Pryde. Really fun character. And plus, I mean, there's a little dragon that's almost looks like Figment you got Lockheed. So, All right, okay. But we should get into these shorts.
Yeah, so let's talk about the one that starts it off, which is the Groot's First Steps. So with Groot's First Steps, we're talking about the fact that he's still in the pot. So, at the end of the first Guardians, he's still in the pot, and then he is out of the pot in the second one. So this looks like all of this takes place between those two movies. And it's, now we see that he's being grown, he's being taken care of, he's being nurtured.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, he's being, and then all of a sudden there's a new like bonsai tree, and that's the most important thing. And he gets kind of put off to the side because he's already grown up. So it's a neat story about, maybe like, I assume the comparison is like first child, second child. When the first child gets to a certain age and you've been taking care of it and you've been loving it and all that, you have the second one that now needs all your attention, and maybe the first one gets put to the side. Is this something, do you think, that James Gunn was trying to tell us with this, where he's like,
I don't know. Does he have any part with it?
You know what? He was the voice of something like the wristwatch or something in one of the episodes. So he was attached to this.
Yeah, but he's not the director.
No. So whoever came up with the story is, I guess what we're saying is, maybe there was they were a first child and they were put to the side, and maybe that's where this came into play. Like maybe they were trying to send a message to mom and dad. I don't know, but it is kind of sad because you feel bad for him for a minute, and then all of a sudden you see that he's growing up on his own, and he's trying to like basically take out the bonsai, because he hates it. But in doing that, he learns that he can grow his arms, and he learns that and eventually he gets out of the pot, which is, there's no spoiler there. It's called Groot's First Steps.
Yeah. So we got to think of this on a couple different levels. Are they just trying to be entertaining? Are they trying to tell a story? And are they trying to tell a story relevant to the MCU in any way, shape, or form? Number one, I think these are mostly just for entertainment. Number two, I think in this one, they're absolutely trying to tell that first child, second child story. And I think it's really cute how at the end, when Groot grows up a little bit, he puts the blanket back around the bonsai and kind of tries to like put it back together. It reminds me of the Simpsons episode, also Disney Plus, where Lisa is babysitting Bart and he breaks his arm, and she's trying to, oh man, just classic. And I thought about that with the bonsai tree's stretchy arm, which that really grossed me out. Rob, did that gross you out, the way the bonsai tree, like the green goo inside?
No, I mean it. I don't think it was gross. I mean, it didn't really bother me at all. So I don't know if you and I were watching the same thing. We always watch these with a very critical eye, but when I was watching, I was just watching it for the entertainment value of it. And honestly, I got those vibes that it was second child syndrome and all that. But in doing so, in doing that, like the stretching arms falling off. You know, when he was doing that, like that was interesting. Like it was almost like we were learning his superpower at that point with him.
Yeah, there's another couple little pieces of that. I forgot which one it's in. It might be the little guys, where he's like breaking pieces of himself off to kind of like help. It's very interesting. It almost feels like a backdoor Groot origin story, kind of, because we're seeing like how he discovers himself a little bit.
Would it have been better? I guess it's okay that these run in shorts, right? I mean, would it have been better to run like a half hour, like a Lego thing? You think it works better as shorts? Okay.
Yeah, I do, because they're very different stories and they're cute in their own right, and you learn a little bit about Groot each time. I think, and you can see like where some of his adult behaviors come from.
Yeah. So I like this one because it explains again how he went from in the pot to walking, and it does it in a very comedic way. The next one is Groot's Pursuit. I don't know that this one had a lasting effect on me. This is the weirdness with the water and, you know.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah.
It feels really out of place, right?
Yeah, this is the one that I feel like honestly is a little forgettable. You know, so here you see, you know, it's not even clear what it is. All the rest of them have a very clear like title and mission, but this one, Groot's Pursuit, just feels weird. It says Groot investigates a spooky noise that has been haunting the quadrant, which leads to an intense dance-off.
Which was the entertainment value is there, but like there's nothing else to kind of hang on to except for like, all right, Groot's a little bit spiteful, and that's what you kind of learn.
Yes, I mean he basically dances the thing into like the airlock, and then gets rid of it. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Murdered in cold blood. That's what Groot did.
The next one is Groot takes a bath. That one is weird as well, but I love it. Like that one,
I loved it. My wife watched it with me too, and she was just cracking up. And I said to her, I was like, "Is there a point to this, or are they just wanting us to enjoy dress up with Groot and then feel bad when it sheds?"
Like, yeah, maybe, I guess, but I mean, I guess this is something a little kid would do, but you don't get that impression from just looking at this picture of what it really is, because what they're what they're trying to accomplish here is to show him taking a bath, but the truth of it is he's he found this mud hole, and when he puts stuff on it, it makes him grow like more leaves, and then he's using it in funny ways, like a chia pet. Yeah, exactly. And it's adorable, and I love it. And then you get like that emotion from him where he's like, oh, he's all excited, and then it falls off. He's like, oh, and he's like, oh, I can go back and do it again. And then when at the very end, when he's like reaching in for more, and he's like, wait, there's no more.
It was heartbreaking in that little moment. Yeah.
And then there's that bird that's like mocking him the entire time. Yeah.
The bird was mad. The bird was just trying to nap.
So I like that one a lot. The little guy, the little guy one is neat because again, you have this moment where he's found this like microcosm. It reminded me of Rick and Morty. Did you ever watch Rick and Morty?
No.
There was a
reminds me of several things.
Yeah, there was a scene where in Rick and Morty where an episode where he has like this little galaxy that basically like a civilization that was built, a micro civilization to power his spaceship, and so then he has to go micro to go in and like see what's going on, and they've evolved to a point where they're not serving him anymore and all this, and so it's like this very fast evolving civilization, and that's what we're seeing with these little guys that he finds and he comes across, and it's like they just look like they're innocent, almost like water bears. And then what really ends up happening is they have like ships and lasers and all this other stuff, and he's seen little things that are smaller than him, and he's always picked on, and so I guess he starts picking on them. And then when he realizes that there's like that they love the leaves that he has, then he goes and gets them more leaves, and on the way back he crushes them. Like, what's the message there?
Oh man, I think the message is what he does after he crushes them. And he's like, "Oh god, I've messed up so bad," and just puts the stone down and walks away. There's been several. This actually was a Twilight Zone episode back in the day, and once again bringing it back to the Simpsons, there was a one with Lisa where like her tooth after getting static shock started growing its own civilization. So it's a trope that's been done, and I think they do a really great job here. And I think it shows the kind of dichotomy of, man, you know who Groot is kind of like? Groot is like a good intentioned Loki, because he's kind of that mischievous, jokester, but he doesn't have the evil intent that Loki usually goes with. So he starts off immediately by bullying them. Like, where are they going with this? He causes giant hurricane winds, and then they retaliate. And it shows like his kindness and that he's willing to sacrifice and help other people. And then it shows that he's still a kid. He's like, "Oh, I just crushed an entire civilization.
And then just like
put that rock
for the
back, and we're out."
There are some funny parts in these things. There really are. The thing with the bath, the thing with him and the and trying to like get the bonsai tree, and he's just very mischievous. Both of those.
Either way, I think it works.
Yeah, and it just endears you more to this character. And you know what? They could have gone back to the well with this and ruined it, and I don't think they did.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't think we took the risk, especially with. We talked about how I think Grogu's cuter, but Grogu's definitely getting oversaturated. And eventually, if it hasn't started already, the tides are going to turn against Grogu. They could have really messed things up for Groot, and especially with Guardians 3 on deck. They took a risk.
Well, but, to your point about Grogu for a second, because, again, we seem to be all over the place, but it's all connected. The point about Grogu, they made him go away for a little while, and they made us miss him. And that was so smart. That was so smart that they did that. And then we were scared that we were going to lose him forever. And so the way that was scripted, and whether it was Filoni or Favreau who decided that was a path that was taken, they played it right into it so that we're not oversaturated with him. We're in longing for him. We want him back. We want to have him back in our lives and take care of him. And we were scared that he was going to go off with Luke and no longer be part of our story. And that was really...
And I'd have to consider what happened to him in Order 66.
Right.
And I've been dreading that since we started seeing Jedi powers. But let's flip this from Grogu back to Baby Groot. Baby Groot in the parks. We've seen Baby Groot in the parks.
Yep.
That's really awesome. And they could have done so much to like just kill everything around this character. And I guess it was risky. I mean, there's plenty of cutesy characters in the Marvel universe that you could have done. You could have done something with Cosmo, the dog.
Howard the duck.
I'm glad Howard's not cute, man. He's gross. And the less we get of Howard, the better, because it just makes people go and try and see that very, very inappropriate original movie of his. But yeah, there's cute characters, there's like the entire Pet Avengers. We saw DC go to the pet well. I wouldn't be surprised. There's the brief appearance of Puddle Gulp in Loki. So you could have went anywhere, and they took an existing character who's been in the parks, who's been in 2 movies, who's in an attraction, who is in another movie, and they took a risk, and I think it paid off. I think this is going to bring a whole bunch of new Groot fans. Oh God, why is he here?
So I always refer to that guy as Star-Lord Steve, because he doesn't look anything like Star-Lord at all. And apparently they can't they do that. But this was the little animatronic that they had at the Disney park, at Disney World, that was Groot. Yeah. So what I found interesting, and it's so freaking adorable, but what I found interesting about that was that they did Baby Groot in Florida, but we've had grown-up Groot in, which is kind of, out of sequence, I guess, at Mission Breakout, where they do the dance party, and so we see him there. Kind of interesting choice. I don't know why, but this Baby Groot animatronic is freaking adorable, and I know I've seen like prototypes of like a small like self-contained walking version that they've put together that would be kind of like the living characters, the initiative.
Oh,
like
remember that? Remember the living character initiative?
Yeah.
Do you remember all the things that was going to happen? And how is there not a Grogu meet and greet? What would the wait be? 6,000 minutes? 2 years?
Probably. And you
Lightning
know what?
Lane, $4 million.
At Star Wars Celebration, Favreau broke one out and on stage, and it was amazing. And then there was a Mandalorian experience with one in the cockpit, like he is in Book of Boba Fett, in the cockpit, kind of turning around and waving. And yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, he's so freaking adorable, and it's just, so expressive and so just perfect. So I don't know why they don't the
expressive that. Man, Baby Groot's expressions in these shorts are so great. I don't think we talked about it as a whole, but it's beautiful. It's really well animated. There's like the scenes, while it's dark, it's not that overwhelming bluish dark. There's still vibrant colors in it. Really just well done.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and let me just show this first, because like this is, out in California, you're seeing like, full size Groot. So that's where they have that for the meet and greets. But I think you could have messed this up. They did it with Baymax, the original like Big Hero 6 TV show, not the new Baymax. The new Baymax does it right, but they went in a completely different direction with the animation. We've seen it before when they take something like the Emperor's New Groove and they do the Emperor's New School, and the animation is done by like, the Toon Disney and stuff like that. This one stayed true to the original, not only the original like animation of Groot, but also to the canon of the MCU, and using Vin Diesel as the voice. Yeah.
Vin Diesel, man, he must get paid so much for just saying that one sentence. Although my wife did say, well, he said "oh." I said, "Oh" isn't a word, it's a sound. Like, he emotes, he makes noises, but those are the only words he says.
Right, and he says them in a different tone. I am Groot, I am Groot. And that part makes it funny. And again, like I said to you from the opening, like, is this cringy at this point, or is it still, adorable?
No, I think it's still good. Like the I am Groot as he dumps that thing out the airlock was my favorite one.
Yeah.
Like, it was asserting that I am Groot and the only Groot, and there will be no other Groot.
And so cool that they do things like, when in the first movie, tell me you didn't weep when he said "we are Groot." I mean,
waterworks.
Come on, absolutely.
Absolute waterworks.
Yeah. So the final one is ironically called the Magnum Opus. And what I love about this is you don't know what he's up to.
Yeah.
Like, he's going and he's cutting like some stuff off a rocket's tail, and he's causing all kinds of havoc. And just this one, as a parent, I know you can appreciate this. I bet you can. Because, like, your daughter goes and she, like, draws on the walls, and you're, like, so mad at her, but it's a picture she drew of you, and you're like, I can't stay mad at you, or that kind of thing. Then, am I wrong?
No, and Bradley Cooper plays it perfectly. Why does it smell like there was an explosion in here? What do you mean there was an explosion in here? And then you get the picture at the end, and it's just, it's so cute. It really is. It's very sweet, and having Bradley Cooper in there was great.
Which, again, why was he not in Cosmic Rewind? It's bothersome to me, but
it is. It's bothersome. It's not like he's busy. I mean, does he even have anything coming out?
I don't think so. But I'm sure.
Bradley.
Actually, no, he does. I feel like he does have some. But so
you know what, Bradley? Here's what we'll do. You come on Deep in the Plus. You just do the lines from Cosmic Rewind, and we'll call it even.
Yeah, we'll record them, and then we'll just drop them into Disney stuff, and we'll take care of it.
We'll just keep them.
Or we'll just keep them for us. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that works.
Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah, like I said before, a lot of times on Deep in the Plus we'll do trivia, but I don't feel like that's necessary for this one. I think that it's just they're very quick shorts, and they really are short. Like, some of the shorts that you'll see from Pixar, from Disney, they're like 9-11 minutes. This is 5 minutes with credits. And what do you think
of the brief?
What do you think of the little trick where they fast forward through the Marvel intro? Do you love that, or do you hate that?
That was a little cringe to me, and I was upset that I couldn't skip it.
Yeah, that
And it's
makes
like,
sense.
just get me to the Groot. This is annoying. You're trying to be cute, and it was cute once.
By the way, they've done us a favor on here? Not the shorts, but the Marvel movies. Is we all know that Marvel movies are famous for the post credit scene, and sometimes there's a beginning credit scene, a mid credit scene, and a post credit scene. But when you get to there's now a skip button that will allow you to skip to the post credit scene, which I think is fantastic. That they do that, because when you're at home, you're going to fast forward anyway. They got to know that. Like when you're in the theater, they kind of have you captured, and all these people took all this time and effort to make a movie that you just saw and just loved. It stands to reason that there should be something holding you there to watch and see, all the people that made the movie.
One of my favorite scenes in Entourage, when the people start walking out of Medellin, he's like, "You need to stay here for the below the line people." I was like, that's probably how people do feel. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm gonna throw my popcorn on the floor. I'll see y'all later.
Yeah. We just finished Lindsay Lohan Appreciation Month, and I don't remember seeing a lot of post-credit stuff happening there.
I expected a post-credit on Herbie. I really did, because I felt they were setting it up for a franchise. But getting the history of the movie, that was their last film in her contract, so obviously they weren't going to franchise it unless Justin Long was coming back, and he was taken off at that point in time, so I don't think he was.
Well, but I mean, for Herbie, and I know that's not what we're talking about here, but for Herbie, they absolutely could have passed the car on. That's kind of the legacy of Herbie, is they always pass the car on, so they could have passed the car on to somebody completely different, and maybe they will someday. I'd like to see that come back. Back to the yeah.
Well, let's take it from there. If the Guardians disband, if there's a new group of Guardians, is there Groot in that group? Does Groot go somewhere else? They've interacted with Thor a lot. I'm wondering if we see, another place for Groot outside of the Guardians, or with a new group of Guardians. Maybe he's like the lone Guardian that stays aboard. We get like a tearful goodbye from him and Rocket.
Well, the Ravengers have been introduced in the second movie, and like a lot of big names. I forget her last name, but Michelle Yeoh, is that right?
Yep.
And then Sylvester Stallone, and so they've really introduced a bunch of big time names into this universe that they could expand this universe. There was a huge joke that people made when they brought out Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was a huge hit. Is that they said that with Marvel, they can bring out these third-tier comic books and have huge box office, but that DC couldn't make a hit unless it had the word bat in it. And I mean, and that was kind of true, is that they brought out Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Justice League, and all of them just kind of missed a little bit. And not that I didn't enjoy them, because I'm a huge comic book nerd, whether it's Marvel or DC, but it was true that if you can bring out Shang-Chi and Guardians of the Galaxy and the Eternals and all this other stuff, and maybe they overstepped with the Eternals, because
there it is. All right, you got there on your own. I was like, because they tried the Inhumans, and that wasn't great. They tried the Eternals, and that is still my blind spot in the MCU. I do not have time for a movie like that from all sources, I'm not going to enjoy. If you've watched Deep in the Plus, one of my keys is, can I get through it quickly? If it's bad and it's quick, it's not as bad. Like, I'm sad that there weren't more of these. Yeah. I was looking to see, is there another one going to be released? I got through these fast, and I enjoyed it so much. But man, I don't want to get DC fans after me, because they're notoriously not great.
Like protective?
But they're just rabid on the internet.
Oh, gotcha.
Not that most fan bases aren't, but
sure.
The difference between Marvel and DC is seen right here. And when DC does something like Peacemaker that's sending up the trope, it hits, because it's not the same old, same old. That's why Marvel does stuff like this with Baby Groot. They're doing things, a little bit outside. It's actually why I'm upset that we don't do Star Wars weekends anymore, because I thought that when Disney got Star Wars, that was one of the things they did that kept it in the cultural zeitgeist, is those wacky things that, could you imagine how viral, oh my God, Sig and Ula would go right now?
Yeah.
Hyperspace Hoopla would be huge. Everybody would be doing TikTok dances from Hyperspace Hoopla.
DJ
and
Lobot.
that's where it is. What?
DJ Lobot.
Yeah. That's where it is. Marvel doesn't take itself too seriously. DC's trying to make a prestige movie out of a comic book, and while you can do it, like American Splendor is a fantastic movie based on comic book artists. It's a high-end movie. It's film versus a movie, which Tarantino likes to make the distinction between. And that's where you're seeing Marvel's strength here, is that they can put Groot in 5-minute shorts and be entertaining. They can expand to theme parks where their characters don't have to brood all the time.
Right.
So, you know, I think that this is a perfect example of where the difference is.
There's a lot of things that are more authentic, more visceral, more organic about Marvel. The fact that there's a reason that everybody is what they are, whether they're a mutant, whether they got their powers through super soldier serum or whatever. Whereas most of what you're seeing from DC is like aliens of some sort. You know, it's Superman coming from another planet, or, you know, the Amazons, and, you know, all of these things that seem a little bit more made up. This seems a little bit more real world is in Marvel. And I always appreciated the fact that, like, you know, Spider-Man is from New York and Queens, and Superman's from Metropolis, and, you know, and Batman's from Gotham City, and with Flash is Central City, and so all of these other things are made up, whereas these things exist in our world and are things that could happen to us, and so we kind of, I think, as people, take a little bit more ownership of the Marvel stuff. Now, that said, I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe had a much better plan than the DC Cinematic Universe did, and because of that, they did an amazing job. Now, let me take that back and give DC some props, because the animated movies that they did were their own universe, and those were really well done. And then on top of that, when they would do the TV shows on the CW, and then they would bring, like, Grant into Vixen doing the voice of Flash. I'm like, this is where you should have been all along. Then when you go and do Ezra Miller as the Flash on the screen, I'm like,
they are a problem. Yeah. Why is Grant? Get Grant Gustin in there. Like, the Arrowverse was what I was about with DC. DC animated is great. Like, the Teen Titans are fantastic.
Like the TV show. That's Titans?
Where this baby. What?
The TV show Titans, like the dark one, or
the Teen Titans, like
Teen Titans Go,
Cartoon Network. Yeah, Teen Titans and then Teen Titans Go. Yeah, that's where this Baby Groot lives, in that area where, hey, these are beloved characters, but we're gonna have some fun, and maybe we're gonna make you emotionally attached. Like, I have more emotional attachment to Cyborg from Teen Titans Go than I do from Doom Patrol.
Yeah, no, that's true. That was, by the way, I mean, no offense to the actor, but that's a horrible pick for Cyborg. Like, the one in the movie is great. The one for Doom Patrol, I don't get what they were going for there. Yeah,
played it a little too young and just a little hollow. And listen, you never know what's going on a set. It could be direction. It could be just not feeling it. You know,
but
it's hard to say.
That's a disconnect, though, is between the movies and the TV shows. Whereas here, again, with Disney Plus, with the movies that we see in the theater, being able to see a little bit more of Groot's story, that's really what, to me, this is all about. And that's where I think DC loses it. So for this, I'm excited. Now, where I'm a little bit trepidatious is, what is the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special going to be all about? Because that's the next thing that's coming our way. And apparently, I think it ends Phase 4. And so it's involved in this somewhere. And I thought it was just going to be like a standalone.
There's 2 Guardian specials, right? Isn't there Halloween and Holiday?
I just thought there was a Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I didn't know that there was...
I might be mistaken.
Yeah,
but
you may be confusing that with the Hocus Pocus 2.
I'm not confusing that with Hocus Pocus. Get out of here. But yeah, it's interesting how we're gonna keep all this stuff in canon. Like, we keep going back to, is why and how is this part of Phase 4? Is this in an alternate, like, are we in a different timeline? Are we on another universe? Because this our Groot isn't this size right now.
Yeah.
Or maybe something happens and he is this size again.
I don't know. I'm excited to see this come to an end, because I feel like we had, with the Infinity War, we had the culmination of an amazing long journey that finally paid off. And I think that Phase 4 has been sort of a palate cleanser, I hope, to whatever may come with the next phase. Like,
yeah, you think it's kind of like the setup, the reset, and we're keeping it light because what's going to come is not going to be light.
Well,
and Kang is
I was gonna say,
serious.
Will it be a Kang? Like, will Kang be season 5? I mean, phase 5, or Plus, also we've got a lot of these heroes that are aging out, and so a lot of them they've been killing off. We lost Cap, and we lost Iron Man.
Did we lose Cap? I'm not convinced.
Okay.
I am not convinced.
Interesting.
Well, I think Iron Man's gone.
They've already passed the mantle to Falcon, though.
Nomad.
Okay. Which, by the way...
There's a lot of options. Lot of options.
Well, so the rest of Phase 4, this one, I Am Groot, which dropped on Disney Plus on August 10th, which was strange to me that they just shoehorned it in. She-Hulk Attorney at Law, which is ongoing right now. The first 2 episodes have dropped. The third one...
Go watch that.
The first 3 episodes have dropped, yeah. And then Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And then Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is supposed to end this thing out.
They're not going to kill off like somebody during the holiday special, are they?
I don't know. I mean, my take on the holiday special has always been that of all the things, and you mentioned this about Groot and the all the things that don't take themselves seriously. I think Guardians is the biggest not taking itself seriously. Everybody's comedic, whether it's like Mantis, who just doesn't know any better, because she's fish out of water, because it's Drax, because he's very literal, because it's Star-Lord, because he's clueless. I mean, everyone has a comedic, like, Rocket's rough around the edges, and Groot is, is adorable. And so everybody has a comedic thing, and they don't take themselves too seriously. Maybe Nebula, maybe Gamora, they take themselves too seriously, but the rest of them, they don't. And so I think that, to me, this was supposed to be like the Star Wars holiday special, that they was supposed to be poking fun of that horrible Star Wars holiday special, which, by the way, huge Star Wars fan right here, and I get the kitsch of watching that, but it does hurt my heart sometimes watching that you took, we didn't care back in whatever 1978 when this happened. We just were like, hey, we get more Star Wars, that's great, because we didn't know about Empire yet.
Yeah. You weren't picking up Variety to see like what the next Star Wars film coming out was. You had to take what you could get. Man, I wonder what would be the reaction if they did something like that now.
Well, that could be what this is. But I mean, even if it is, it's going to be done campy on purpose, and not the way that it came across with the original one.
Right. Like, if you tried to make something austere and tried to make something legitimately and put it in that universe, and it just flopped, I don't know what they would do. Like, I mean, we've gotten bad reviews, we've gotten mediocre reviews, but there's never been something that's universally derided as the Star Wars holiday special. And like, even the prequels, man, Gen Z, you scare me in a lot of ways, but like, you don't need to stand if that is a stand simp for the prequels. You don't need to make that the horse you die on. Like, pod racing is cool. We get it. The Duel of the Fates is cool. Those are bad movies, and it's okay.
But some people grow up. No. Some people grow up with things. We learned that through Lindsay Lohan Appreciation Month. Some people grow up with things that are in their time period, that in their mind space was crucial to them as they grew up. And sometimes, and we talk about this when we do these Deep in the Pluses, is that they don't stand the test of time. And sometimes we go back and watch it and we were like, what were we thinking? And sometimes we go back and watch it and we're still watching it through rose-colored glasses, where everybody around us is like, are you seeing the same thing we're seeing? Like, so I really feel like that there are people who grew up with those movies, and it's not you or me, but like, there were little kids when this happened. Yeah. And when they came out, they were looking through them like little kids, and this was awesome to them. And maybe their parents like me, had forced them to watch Star Wars, you know, in the past, and then they watch this and they're like, oh, this is my Star Wars. Like, I like this because the effects are cleaner and all that stuff. But the looking at it through my eyes, I go, wow, a Trade Federation quarrel. That's exactly what I want to, you know.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Hey, we've got Jedis, but what are they out there doing? They're trying to be ambassadors for a Trade Federation's dispute. Okay. Yep, that's what the kids love these days.
And let's roll it back to what we're watching right now. And I don't think I don't know what Marvel film I would show my daughter. She loves TV and movies. We try to limit it. We've watched Spidey and Friends a little bit. She loves Spider-Man. She has Spider-Man jammies. She has a Spider-Man Squishmallow. This could be an entry point into the Marvel Cinematic Universe for her. Because it's a cute character who does cute things. And, you know, eventually when I'm willing to sit there and cry with her when we lose Yondu, we'll watch those movies together.
Oh, Mary Poppins, y'all.
Oh, man.
Was he cool?
Michael Rooker's a treasure. He's just the best.
Well, and you hate him in Walking Dead, and then you look at him in as Yondu, and you're like, oh, okay, I love you, dude.
No, yeah, he's just James Gunn gets him, and they get each other. But you know, we can get our kids into it. So mine's younger, yours are significantly older, but this is an entry point. And this is something that now when we're flipping and we see something Marvel, I'm not like, I can't show her that. Like, a lot of people die in several of these movies.
Yeah.
I'm even worried about The Incredibles because that body count in Incredibles is high. It is very high.
Okay. Well,
we watched Muppet Treasure Island and all she could talk about is, I'm going to make you dead. I'm like, oh, God, what have we done?
It's gonna happen anyway, dude. But you make a great point that like you don't have to have seen the MCU to think that these are cute. And the other thing about it is, even though all he's saying is I am Groot and that Rocket has some limited dialogue, for the most part, it's just like any of the Pixar and Disney shorts of today, whereas there's not really dialogue. The animation tells the story, and that's kind of the same thing here. Is you don't really need there to be a lot of dialogue. You don't need some like, you know, context from Drax or anything like that. So I do like that they use him as like a that they use Rocket as kind of like a little bit of a linchpin to hold things together. But for the most part, you can look at this without knowing the story. Same thing with the Baymax shorts, which, you know, maybe someday we'll talk about those, but it's the same type of thing. Like Hero is there at the end of the Baymax shorts. But, you know, I expected the Baymax shorts to be half-hour, like, shows, but they're just shorts, but they're much longer than these.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Pixar comparison is really good. In fact, they premiered this Modus Operandi, or excuse me, Magnum Opus in front of Lightyear, right? That was the one they put in front of Lightyear?
I didn't see it in front of Lightyear.
Oh. Man, IMDb trivia, you're letting me down. That's what you get for letting all you people edit it.
It doesn't mean that they didn't, but I don't remember seeing it in front of Lightyear when I saw it. So, I mean,
that's going to be the next one. You want to talk about what are they called? Gen A. Gen A is going to be coming for people and talking about how Lightyear was the best Pixar movie they ever made, and it's so meta. And yeah, that's going to be big news. Maybe we'll get more Lightyear shorts at that point in time.
Maybe. Yeah. So, you know, is there anything else you want to talk about before we give like final like thoughts on this movie? I mean, these shorts.
No, I think I'm good. I think we covered a lot. We tied it into like 100 different things, and
well, I mean, you know, the question when I told my wife we were going to be doing these shorts, and again, she loves Guardians. Specifically, she says she loves Groot, and so people like buy her Groot stuff all the time, and she's not a collector like me, so she's always like, oh, great, another Groot thing. But she likes it, but I think that's because secretly she just likes Star-Lord. So you know,
you think she's pulling a fast one on you?
I do.
Does she tell you she likes Blue, the Velociraptor in Jurassic World?
Wait, yeah, weird. No.
And how many times have you rewatched Parks and Rec?
Thor and Guardians are her two favorites, and I think it's because the Chris's are her two favorites. So anyway, but it's fine. So when we look at these shorts and we've talked about like, hey, we're going to talk about them. If you take off the beginning and the end, you could probably watch the whole thing in like 18 minutes and be done. And she was like, how are you going to talk about this on Deep in the Plus? Well, we did it, fam. We did it. We made it happen. We made it work. We did it. So again, if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps people to find us. Please subscribe to WDWNT TV. And yeah, give the like to Patrick. His ego needs
fragile
it.
ego.
Fragile ego. So please do that for him. We would appreciate it. And just another kind of a thank you to our WIGS members. We love our WIGS. You guys are the best. Thank you for being with us and watching the shows on WDWNT TV and chatting with us in the chat. We appreciate you so much. So thank you for being WIGS members. If you want to find out how to become part of the WDWNT Interglobe Society, you can check us out at patreon.com/WDWNT and come be part of the family. We welcome it. So here's the moment. This is the one. This is why the folks tune in, fella, to you, because I need to ask you. You've seen it. We've reviewed it. We've gone off on 80 tangents, but would you recommend these shorts?
I not only would recommend these shorts, I would say as soon as Rob does the outro, go watch them. They're not going to take that long. They're funny. They're cute. If you have a kid that's like just getting into elementary school and you want something to brighten up their first days back, just give them the Groot shorts. It's not too long. They'll enjoy it. It'll be like a little amuse-bouche for entertainment when they get home from school.
Amuse-bouche. Yeah, I would say it too. I mean, it was one of those things where I was sort of looking forward to it, and then when they came out, I kind of put it on the back burner, and I was like, I'll get to that, because I didn't think they would go so quickly. And I do think that once I've watched them, then I wanted to share them with other people. So I do think that they are funny. That they kind of hold up the same way that some of my favorite Pixar shorts do, like For the Birds and Presto and some of those that I watch over and over again, because they're just funny and entertaining and they ask nothing of you. And at the same time, they kind of further the story of the Guardians and Groot and, kind of explain maybe what he was up to as a little scoundrel. But also, to Patrick's point, I think that it allows you an entry point to test the waters with your kids. They're not too brutal, although he is very mischievous, and that always worries me if we're giving blueprints to our children of ways to be a menace when we do things like that. Like, go cut fur off
Rob's family has never seen Home Alone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, go cut fur off the cat's tail and use it for your Magnum Opus and blow up the dining room, and everything's gonna be fine because you made a pretty picture. Is that the lesson? I don't know, but there's enough of that stuff with like Bluey anyway, so I mean, you might as well be watching Baby Groot.
My wife and I love Bluey more than our daughter does. It's so good.
My daughter is a teenager and watched Bluey, and she like watched it all the way through and then would pick out her favorite episodes for me. So maybe sometime we need to do a Bluey as well. But
you gotta get Ron.
Yeah, no, I know. Ron's the man when it comes to Bluey. As a matter of fact, we couldn't do a Bluey Deep in the Plus without Ron Deanna, so I completely understand that. Well, my friend, thank you for reviewing this one with me. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. We're going to have D23 Expos coming up this weekend, and then after that, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about all the stuff that they announced at D23, and a lot of it may be related back to the Guardians, to Groot, to Marvel. So we're looking forward to having that conversation with you guys. So please join us next week when we have our panel discussion about everything we learned from D23 Expo about Disney Plus, about movies and TV shows and things that are coming up. And again, thank you guys for being with us. Patrick, thank you, and y'all have a great night. We'll see you next time.